Before we get to watch the most awaited kaiju movie, Godzilla vs. Kong, let's look at how the two previous movies went, and right from characters to plot to visuals and many more. Yes, today's going to be different. We're not going head to head with the monsters, but rather comparing two movies as a whole. Yes, Godzilla, King of the Monsters versus Kong, Skull Island. Note that I'm trying to analyze both from a layman's point of view and not a hardcore kaiju fan. So without further ado, let's dive right into it. Both the blockbusters had amazing casts. However, when it comes to characters, I don't know about you guys, but I felt I had a great connection with the military and the explorers found in Kong Skull Island. Yeah, we all know, of course, it's a kaiju movie, and they weren't the most fleshed out characters of all time, but come on, let's be honest here. We all felt something when Shea Wiggum sacrificed himself to the giant skull crawler, followed by Jason Mitchell's reaction, which was absolutely heartbreaking. Samuel L. Jackson, too, went all crazy and played the perfect villain, of course. The end credit scene, where John C. Reilly finally returns home, was emotional, and the combo of Tom Hiddleston and Brie Larson was just soothing. Coming to Godzilla, King of the Monsters, and these characters are just paper thin. Honestly, the only one I had any connection with was that of Ken Watanabe's character, Dr. Ishiro Serizawa. One of the biggest hype for this movie was the fact that they had the Stranger Things main, Millie Bobby Brown's face, featured all over the trailers. And of course, like I said, you just had a giant hand task. Cast full of actors there, and all of them are completely underutilized. Round one goes to Kong, Skull Island. I know a lot of you King of the Monsters fans out there are going to be pissed, but let's face it, it is what it is. As for Kong Skull Island, there was John Goodman, who managed to convince the senator to procure funding for an expedition to the mysterious Untamed Skull Island with the help of Houston Brooks, allowing him to determine if his Hollow Earth theories were true, a theory that carries on into Godzilla King of the Monsters and probably going forward. Switching over to Godzilla King of the Monsters, sad to say that it had the most basic plot ever. You have a very generic villain, played by the great Charles Dance, also known as Tywin Lannister. Yeah, one of the greatest villains in Game of Thrones, goes completely underutilized. In fact, the most basic villain ever. Now we have the Orca, which is a device used to replicate the bioacoustics used by Titans, effectively communicating with them, as well as controlling them to some extent by replicating the commands of alphas. That's cool, but personally, I think I needed more than just that. And then the folks that truly should have lived are going to be down in these bunkers. Then the monsters can return in their hibernation, and the world will be fine again. Like, we've heard it and seen it so many times that it's just so overutilized at this point. So without a doubt, I'm going to give round two also to Kong Skull Island, for at least having a better plot. Again, I know all you KOTM fans are on your triggers right now, but wait, there are parts where the King of the Monsters totally dominates Kong Skull Island. For Kong Skull Island, Kong himself is awesome, and all the creatures found within it were cool and stunning. And also that slow-mo green smokescreen in which Tom Hiddleston combating against psycho vultures absolutely lived up to the hype. And of course, you have the insatiable skull crawlers as the main antagonist, which are pretty cool-looking creatures, and I definitely wouldn't mess with them. But switching over to Godzilla, King of the Monsters, you have multiple giant monsters looking as realistic as ever so far in modern-day monster movies. You have just massive city-destroying action, and an amazing color contrast even. The colors in this movie are so well-crafted, every detail was so vibrant. Eventually, Godzilla was just a bigger movie. It had a massive budget, which was totally made to good use. Therefore, I'm going to have to give round three to Godzilla, King of the Monsters. Kong Skull Island does definitely have its healthy helping of monster-crushing action, but it's sided to a much more military and Vietnam-style approach, as this movie is set almost immediately after the end of the Vietnam War, so you have quite a bit in here, actually. Of course, you have the King Kong crushing the helicopter scene like they were toys. Then you have the military against Kong, then the military against the Skullcrawlers. Finally, you have King Kong versus the Skullcrawlers. Those are actually quite a good chunk of realistic action in this movie. Coming over to the King of the Monsters, and once again, this movie's just bigger. Other than Godzilla, King Ghidorah, Rodan, Mothra, sadly we didn't get to see other titans much on the movie, such as Behemoth, Methuselah, Scylla, and many more. Was a little disappointed at first because I really wanted to see Behemoth stomping around places, Methuselah cracking up more mountains. But then Godzilla and King Ghidorah, accompanied by Rodan and Mothra, did quite the justice in giving us the best battle scenes in cinema history. I'm talking skyscraper and an entire city destroying action. Although personally I did like the strategic smaller scale and military-styled action of Kong Skull Island. Godzilla is just awesome. It's epic. It's huge. Round 4 goes to Godzilla, King of the Monsters. For Kong Island, you have the titular ape, King Kong, of course. You have a few creatures as well, like the Meyer squid, mother longlegs, spore mantis, the psycho vultures, Skur buffalo, and many more. The main one, however, are the terrifying skull crawlers. Not so colossal, but not so bad either. Switching over to Godzilla, King of the Monsters, you have some of the most iconic monsters out there. Aside from King Ghidorah and Godzilla themselves, we have Rodan, Mothra, Methuselah, Scylla, Behemoth, and not to forget Muto 3. The design of these monsters were really well fabricated, and they were all massive. And that scene where the monsters came together was mind-blowing. So the final round goes to King of the Monsters. So my conclusion is that if you're looking for a bizarre monster movie with lots of monsters, epic throwdowns, and some of the best visuals in the industry today, you're gonna go with Godzilla, King of the Monsters. But if you want a movie that actually has a semi-decent plot, some great characters that you really connect with, that also happens to be a monster movie, then go watch Kong Skull Island. But it seems that the Monsterverse now understands what the general audience wants. Godzilla vs. Kong seems like a balance of both. GVK, based on my judgment, from the trailers and teasers dropped, is going to have some of the greatest monsters, according to the leaked merchandise, inclusive of Warbats, Hellhawks, Mechagodzilla, and more. And yes, once again, the plot, according to the trailer, seems so far so good. Without a doubt, Godzilla vs. Kong is gonna be huge. That was all for this video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and have a great day.